Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview, this time covering VCT Americas Stage 2 Finals weekend. My guest at this time is none other than Dryad. She is a broadcast talent covering this league for the better part of a few years, or maybe better way to say this, the entire existence of this league. And she gave me the opportunity to do this quick interview about what's been going on in her life and everything else besides that. And so, Dryad, pleasure to talk to you. I do remember that interview we did back like a few years ago, back in 2022. It was remote. We couldn't see each other. It was only voice, pretty awkward. But now we're here. First and foremost, how are you kind of experiencing the tail end of this VCT America season?
Honestly, this last part of the event has been incredible. I feel like every year we get new surprises when it comes to teams. Just today, Energy winning against Sentinels is something that I feel like 90% of the people are not predicting. You can see how Energy have been getting better, but you can never expect, when is it going to be that turnaround point where they can beat a team like Sentinel. So I think it's been incredible. This year has been great for me. I'm super happy, and I feel like I've been able to do things that I always wanted to do. So I just feel great.
If I may, what exactly are those things that you've been able to do now this year compared to the previous in which you were not able to do? What were they?
Something that I always wanted to do and I've always been passionate about is being able to work for both the English broadcast and the Spanish broadcast. And even though I've been able to do it in the past years through interviews, this year I really got the chance to work for the English broadcast as an analyst. And I got to do both broadcasts kind of at the same time. So sometimes I was doing interviews for both of them on the same day, and other times I was just doing the English analyst desk. Sometimes it was a little bit of the Spanish analyst desk. I'm super happy because I got to do both, and it was something that I'm very passionate about. And I saw how it was a different challenge that I didn't have to face before, but something that I just love doing and I want to keep doing.
It's pretty interesting you said that, because I would assume, like, as a viewer and someone that's always been watching VCT Americas, I would assume that you've already been a part of the English speaking team, but I guess it's a gradual road for you to get to this current point. And you mentioned challenges, and it's one in which I kind of remember from that conversation you mentioned about like your point of view as to like working in the Spanish speaking side of the broadcasting aspect in a given event, and then flip-flopping over to the English side. For this year in particular, what has been those challenges that still stick in your mind or remain in your mind that you feel you kind of still are in the process of improving 100%?
It's funny because last time that we talked, I was still a caster. And then it's been a few years, so ever since I stopped casting, I realized that I wanted to invest my time in Valorant with things that I was a bit more comfortable with. So obviously that's why I started doing even more interviews that I was doing before and more of the analyst desk. Ever since I put a lot of work on bettering my analysis and making sure that I was as strong as I could be. So that was absolutely a challenge, just transitioning roles. And this year, being able to do the English analyst desk was a very big challenge because people might not notice. You might think we're all analysts, but the English broadcast has a lot of different resources that you need to get comfortable with. Like, for example, a telestrator that you're breaking down around and being very specific about some things. So little things that I had to get familiar with that I feel like I'm super happy with, and the more that I got the chance to do those things, the more familiar that I got with them. In the Spanish broadcast before, I was just doing a little bit of the same, obviously doing the desk, doing the interviews. So getting the chance to do something different for a language in a region that I'm also passionate about, doing the English and the Spanish, has been amazing.
I had a chance to talk to Shuga, like one of your colleagues, and she mentioned about her story and what she's doing right now. Nowadays, she's not working in LA. She's back home in her native country, just doing her own thing, and it brings to focus as to what is the difference in terms of like working style, in terms of like the Spanish speaking side and the English speaking side. She mentioned in regards to the Spanish speaking side about there being much more passion in akin to like football, the passion of like fans from that sport transitioning over seamlessly, it might seem, to Valorant. How do you view the contrasting styles between Spanish and English speaking side in terms of like energy given or the seriousness given, and etc. etc.
I think the energy that you see for the Latin American teams versus the English is honestly very different. And I feel like you don't really see what the fan base and how passionate the fans are, on social media, communicating. You're like trying to talk to the team and trying to encourage them, or sometimes, kind of the opposite. But you also see it in the players. I always bring this up because I feel like it's so interesting when you look at the faces of the crew players when they're winning or they're losing rounds. They are so passionate and they're so emotional, and that's something that you see in their faces that I feel like for other players you might see one player from one team be a little bit more emotional. Obviously when they're losing, when they're getting eliminated, you do see those emotions, but for the LATAM guys it's always there. I feel like it's always it's always present no matter what the result is, and it transfers a little bit more to also the fan base and the way that we're transferring those emotions to the broadcast, the way that we are approaching an audience, acting in like showing our excitement for crew playing or left playing, but also showing our emotions of how we feel the community is feeling when they get eliminated like they did this time around. We're not going to have any teams that champs, and that's something that the community really cared about a lot, so we had to transfer and transmit those emotions to them because we are part of that fan base as well.
Yeah, interesting point that you brought out regarding the state of Latin America in terms of VCT Americas, and I mean, I've just been one side question I want to ask you, just sort of your hair. You dyed it to blue. I mean, always been known for having pink hair, and you mentioned about that happening because you're a crew fan, and especially in those early years of their success and stuff like that. So with you going to blue, I assume, are you now a LEV fan?
This is really funny. Yeah, as you were saying, I did dye my hair pink because of crew back then. It was for context for the people that might not know, it was like 2021. I said Fnatic were playing against crew. I said and I used to have orange hair, so I said if crew wins against Fnatic, I'll dye my hair pink. They won, and then I just kept it because I loved the pink. I felt like it just matched me in the style that I was going for. Now I was more of, I just saw blue hair, and from one day to another I was like, I want to try it out. But I love kind of playing with the teams and just saying that I'm dying it for them. It's like I was doing it for Cloud9, and now that Cloud9 got eliminated, now I'm saying that I'm doing it for DRX. So I'm just kind of playing with it for the fun of it. But I do love the LEV players. I feel like LEV became a team that I got super passionate about because of Sato and Okeanos. Just getting the chance to talk to them when I was doing the English analyst desk and getting to joke with them was so fun, and that really turned me into a LEV fan. It might not be the hair because of them, but I'm 100% a fan of LEV now.
We're winding down to the interview because I understand I got to do this very short for you in consideration. That said, with what you've been talking about, your work in this year and having to, do that and reaching the near the end of the season, what do you feel is the one thing that stood out to you in terms of like your accomplishments? One thing that kind of resonates to you for this year, in your opinion.
I think, to be honest, this was a very challenging year. I had to go through a lot of changes in my life. I had to move out. I had to live by myself. I had to do all those things that even though I was living in LA because of VCT Americas for quite some time, I never quite had to do it by myself. So that was a challenge, and something that allowed me to kind of find peace and kind of find my happiness was all of the work that I was putting into not only my interviews when I do those international events, and also locally here, but also doing the English analyst desk. That is something that it was a dream for me since I got into Valorant, is what I wanted to do. And not only getting the chance to do it, but also feeling like I actually did a great job. I feel like it's easy for everybody on camera talent to be a bit more negative about our performance, or always be perfectionist, always strike for perfection. But even though there were always things that I wanted to work on, feeling like I did a great job, and hearing from the people that I was, friends with, but not maybe working with before that, complimenting me and saying great things about my job, it's something that made me feel very fulfilled, and I feel like that was kind of the point for me this year, just refinding myself in my job and trying to innovate in it as well. It was amazing, and even though I had like a lot of personal challenges, the way that I was able to overcome them in a way because of all the work that I was putting in myself, and then my work was something that I don't think I can, change in any way. I'm super happy with the way that everything turned out.
And what we've seen out of you, Dryad, is perseverance and diligence, and one in which is a person that continues to work hard and continues to improve through it all. And so, no doubt we'll see a continuation of that for you, Dryad, and no doubt I'm gonna have to thank you once again for this interview. Really do appreciate it, and of course, hopefully I can talk to you again in any future capacity, and I'll see you whenever I see you.
Yeah.